Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's call. Um, our first agenda item is to look at the current sprint and to see if there's any questions that we need to clarify or anything that we need to discuss. So I have an update on the teleconsultation tickets. So Sam Mbuwa was helping us to take a look at them, and the scenario that I identified last time that did not work is because somehow the patients have the same identifier as with another existing client. So we're going, actually it's a good thing that we find some kind of like unusual exceptions. So he and I are going to look into it, and then to also to see if there's other possible scenarios that we need to consider and make some changes in terms of the logic and things like that for the teleconsultation, so that something like that, if it happens in the future, the notifications still show up. So we'll be able to have more updates later today, during nighttime. For the Canon EMR, I wonder if Simon or Martin have heard from them in terms of the demo site, whether they still have issues on making them available.
No, I haven't had yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a chance to speak with their program lead, and he's basically saying they're in a little bit of a transition at this point.
Okay.
You know, Steve Wanye left, and they have new people on board. So, and they have some big grants that they're working on right now. So, I'd say, just wait until you hear from me.
Okay.
To proceed on this item.
Okay. So maybe in the meantime, we can put those on hold until we hear the update from them.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, and then, so Simon, do you have an update in terms of the dispensary form?
Yeah, this one I'm still working on it. I'm still doing the reminders. But I just want to mention there are still some issues with the form key. Yeah, I mentioned to Tor, and I just want to update the whole form before I can put it on the ticket. But generally, where I'm having issues is like they made some changes by putting on all the complaints and side effects together under one concept. But when I look at the concept dictionary, it's not been updated yet. And then I have about 3 items that do not have concept IDs on the form key.
So actually, it's more like the form and concept team issue, isn't it? Because I thought they already updated the dictionary, so that's why the form key is ready.
Yeah, they haven't. So what I've decided, I'll just program the form the way it is, and then I put the issues across so that they can sort them out separately with the forms and concepts team.
Okay. Do you mind just to put a comment on this ticket so that we know it's not us putting we're holding on with the reason that it's not moving forward?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. I think those are the tickets we have worked on this week. As there's we are working. Some of us are working on some other priority. So unless anyone have particular questions on any of the tickets on this sprint, they would like to discuss today. Okay, sounds like a no. So the next item that we'd like to talk about is the cohort delta discussions. As we mentioned on Monday, that right now when a new client, like the information about the cohort members for the cohort, in case like someone is getting into the new is not eligible to the cohort, that such information is not being synced to the device. And there's a little bit more into it, what's the best way to do it. And I don't see, I think Nicholas has sent his apology because he has class schedule on that, and I think this is important for him as well as Lawrence. Is Lawrence on the call? So I don't know if any of you got a chance to think through this and have some suggestions or something you would like to share. Okay. Since both Lawrence and Nicholas are not on the call, I think maybe it makes more sense for us to postpone this topic to next Monday when both of them are available, since I think both of them have also would like to participate in this more, if it's okay for you guys.
Yeah, it's okay for us.
Okay. So the next one is to make sure that mUzima is compatible with OpenMRS 1.11.5. And I know that Simon had this has done some initial setup and testing and things like that. So Simon, do you want to share what your initial findings are?
Yeah. So what I did, I installed Tomcat 7, Java 8, and OpenMRS 1.11.5 on my laptop, and I also updated the gold. I have an old version of the gold, so I updated on the machine, and my tests found that we don't really have problems having the upgrade. The only change I made to the modules was to indicate that they support OpenMRS 1.11, and I tried all the process of registering a patient from the mobile app, filling an encounter form, pushing it to the server side, and having it processed. So from the initial testing, I don't believe we'll have problems. Yeah. Then the second part is to set up the mUzima test server with the same environment. So I've done the installation of Tomcat Java 8. The only part remaining is setting up OpenMRS. To do that, I require root access to MySQL. Yeah, I sent Win a message if he knows, but I guess he's easier to respond actually.
Okay.
So I don't know whether he has the password or anyone else has the root password.
He has the password, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I wonder if in case, like as you mentioned, that our current Linode environment is not enough resources for another test environment, maybe we can just increase our resources plan for 1 or 2 months just for this purpose, so that it will not cause problem for our demo site. But we want to test this new one first. If we find out that it's not possible, maybe we can just have increase our resources just for 1 or 2 months.
Yeah. When I do the configuration, I think I'll just do the initial test and let him know whether it can be supported. If not, I think we'll have to upgrade for 1 or 2 months to increase.
Okay. Yeah, so what I have in mind is that I want us to test it thoroughly with our test plan management Jira, and so that in case something that we don't use often, but then we still use sometimes, some kind of features or things like that, or some odd combination so that we can beat the system to make sure that it is truly compatible.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So any comments or questions on in terms of the testing plan for compatibility with 1.1x?
Yeah, could I just ask just a higher level question? What are the big changes from OpenMRS 1.97 to 1.1x?
I think the web services.
What's that?
The web
Yes.
service, the REST, and also the web services.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are they using a different REST module, or is the same REST module?
It's a newer one, yes.
Okay. Okay, but we are fine with the newer REST module, it seems.
I think that's why we want to test it thoroughly, because even though it appeared to be okay, but we want to make sure that there may be certain data point that actually still works when it communicates.
Just as we are talking about the REST module and the conflict with the point of care system, do you anticipate that that's going to recur?
Say it one more time, Martin.
Remember the way mUzima had a conflict because of the REST changes with the point of care system? Do you anticipate that that might come back again?
That's why we want to do some testing, so that we can just do some send and get messages, just to make on the with the point of care POC install, so that we want to also make sure the test on that one as well.
Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So I think it's good that we have 1 month time, but there's quite a bit of things to test. In case something's not working, we still have time to fix that. Yeah.
Okay. Could I ask one? So, are there any major data structure changes in the new version?
I haven't checked exactly in terms of the table structures, and I think it's more like on the UI side and the web services side. That's my understanding. I'm sure like there might be like some minor data structures changes, but I haven't looked into those yet.
Okay. Okay.
I'll come those, yeah.
Yeah, and then no, I haven't followed the AMPATH Jira as much. What's the incentive for upgrading? Just for our own education.
I think I don't know the incentive for AMPATH for upgrading, but I think from OpenAI side, I think it's like increase some kind of like certain security. That's my understanding, but I don't know the incentive for AMPATH because I haven't been into the dev call.
Okay. Okay. Not just curious. Thanks.
Yeah. And I also think that from looking at the minutes, they think upgrading to 1.1x would make them, because of Java and all those versions, and make them, in case they need to upgrade to the next version, then the latest version would be less complicated. That's my understanding. That's why they pick 1.1x. Just one of the reasons. Okay. So next one, oops, sorry, clicked on the wrong button. Is the user guide. So I know that we have done quite a lot of development and enhancement and bug fixes last year. And one thing we are kind of behind is the documentations for how to use some of them, even though they are intuitive for some of us, but just moving forward, we want to have more and more user guide, especially for the actual users. So I just go ahead and just draft some of the a couple of user guide. I just want to get some feedback. The goal is to have something simple but sufficient for and easy to understand for user to follow. So the first one that I just want to get a sense that whether this kind of format and this kind of information is this sufficient enough, or there's things that you guys would like to add or remove or make it even briefer and things like that. So I'm not sure if anyone got a chance just to browse through those 3 pages. So maybe if not, we can just look at one together just to get a sense. So let's say that error resolution for demographic update from data. And so first is like the step-by-steps how to log into the system on the server side, and then how to filter out the specific form discriminator so that you can filter out your form, and then how to use the editor and insert the code in case there's a changes on their birth or gender, because as Simon mentioned last time in his demo, if any changes of their birth or gender, it will automatically put in the error queue for manual review process, because we don't keep the historical data for their birth or gender. But for other changes, other demographic information rather than their birth and gender, it will automatically insert into the and create a new entry in the system, and it will not be put in the error queue. So only the changes on their birth and gender will put on the error queue automatically. So, and then there's some highlights of the important points about what to expect from this first pass, and then some of the things that the user have to do or need to keep in mind when they're doing this exercise. So I wonder if something like that is sufficient, or you guys think that it needs to have more information, and also some related tickets on the bottom. Anyone?
To me, Ada, I think it's a good structure for a start. Especially having the related tickets on the page, somebody can follow and see the discussion on what happens and how the solution came about.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking maybe to insert some screenshot and things like that. And good, the pros is easier to have screenshots and then to relate to each of the statements. The cons is that sometimes our UI change, and then it would have a little bit more investment later on, that constantly updating those pages. So I don't know what you guys feel, whether we should still go ahead and insert some screenshots or not.
Derek speaking, I think I would agree to including screenshots on the stem.
Okay.
That would be better to anyone who's coming in new. Or
okay. Yeah. So if that, go ahead.
More detail, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I would just include some screenshots on certain steps, but not every step, just to keep it short, because I noticed that when the user guide or documentation is very lengthy, sometimes it also become intimidating. So we want to keep it short but still clear.
And I think for the screenshots, could we add module version, maybe so that somebody doesn't get confused in case there's an update on the module and the manual has not yet been updated.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, maybe like on the session we also include the module version, module version. Yeah. Good point.
So I agree with selected screenshots too. Just to add voice there. Not everything, but it's crazy because some people might not even know what a payload is, and having them just see what you're talking about just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, maybe we can include like only like a screenshot on that, when it's just for that page, we just include one time. If it's like later on references to the same page, we just don't include it. so that they know at least like how that page look like. Yeah, I just want to keep it short.
I agree with you. And also the whole issue of updating everything every time there's a change is quite important. So limiting the screenshots is good, but as Derek suggested, I think we should include.
Yeah. So okay, cool. So that is this one, and then we can look at another one just to get a sense of different formats for different user guide. I'm trying to break them down into smaller pieces for each page. So like right now, for example, I just grouped them by error resolution user guide, but then there's different type of error resolutions, and then the same thing for the form template user guide, that they have different type of form templates, so that they just easy for them to search instead of like going through the long pages. That's the formats that I would suggest. But if you guys feel other things, and then we can fix that later on. I think the content is more important. So let's look at the mUzima registration form templates. Because most of our form templates are very empath specific, so I just want to emphasize that this is more like a sample form templates for empath to use, and then later on, once we have the Kenya EMR one done, and then we can also update to include that as another example, so that they can also reference to. So what I think of for this type of user guide, and then just include the sample form templates and also what fields they use, and then the step-by-step guide how to create them, and then also very similar format to highlight what are the requirements that the form templates must to include. Like for example, things like very small thing, like if we don't tag the form templates with registration tag, it would not be processed with the registration handler. I mean, this kind of thing that we know, but new users or users who don't do it all the time, they probably don't know about it, and then it would create serious problem later on that they create a new encounter instead of like creating a new record and things like that. So I guess like the feedback for this would be very similar to the previous one, to add the module version or the version number of the form, as well as the screenshot. Is there other things that you guys would like to make changes?
I'm okay with it for now, but that's just one voice. I'd like to hear what others say.
Okay.
And this looks great, Edda. Thanks.
Sure.
I would agree.
Okay, cool. So if that's the case, I will continue to create to finish the rest of them, and make some improvement as you guys suggest, to add the version number plus the screenshots.
Could we hear from the people who are doing error resolution? Just Ken. Is Ken on the call? Kenneth?
Kenneth is on the call, yes.
Yeah, Kenneth, you do error resolutions, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, can you give us a sense of whether this makes sense or not? Because I don't do error resolution, so I might not even be best placed, for example.
Well, can you come up again, Edda, please?
Yeah, Kenneth, I think Martin was asking whether this kind of user guide, this kind of steps and format information on this proposed wiki page makes sense for resolving the error resolution, as you are one of those, you're one of the managers who spend a lot of time on working on the error resolutions.
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay. Yeah, I think
especially where you have said you will have some screenshots. I really propose that, and I do so that rather than we have the long screenshots, I think it will be much longer. But for me, screenshot is okay for me.
Okay, so so after I finish the first first pass on all these user guides, I think it will be very important for the actual users to look at them, to comment whether it makes sense or not make sense and make changes, because you guys actually know better than most of us, because you guys use it and actually do it on a weekly basis. So I would ping you guys probably in a week and ask you guys to actually follow those user guide for when you work on the error resolution, just to verify whether that's sufficient or something is missing, or need to remove some information, things like that. Okay. So those are what I have on my agenda. Is there any other things anyone want to discuss?
Maybe just to mention much about lag, because last week we didn't have an update because we were out still in the field. We've done recollection of devices, at the same time also have again already updated and given out 2 community units the devices, and they're using the new updated modules, forms, and APK. And so far, I would say so good. We only halted this week because there were a number of activities happening that includes follow-up and process evaluation. But I'll resume the other communities next week. I have devices for 2 community units, that is Skosirai and Mutuot, of which I've updated, and possibly Tuesday I'll be out again in the field the whole week. So far, so good. I will appreciate everyone who is involved in this. Thank you.
So Derek, is it correct that the error for the lab team, the error resolution has been caught up for both the VM server as well as the MRS production?
Sorry, there?
Is the error resolution being caught up, being addressed and resolved for both the VM and the production?
Yeah, true. I'm addressing the same. I'm working on the resolutions of the errors on prod, while the DM is working on the resolutions of errors on the LAC VM.
Okay.
So
So it would be very helpful if you can give us a sense of what are the most common causes for those errors.
Yes. Yeah, I think most of the provider, whereby mostly we have providers, but they were not included in the provider table.
Oh, I see. So like the providers, because they were the users as provider role, but then they were not created as in the provider table.
Sure.
Okay, I see. So that needs to be addressed by the system admin team to create one, and then so you can update that.
Yeah, we've talked to them, and we are helping them also in doing that.
Okay. So if you see other reasons or causes for them to go to the error queue, please share with us so that we can see if there's any programmatic way to avoid those.
Yeah, most welcome.
Thanks. So I also have another update, and I realized that the setup for our wiki and Jira, there's no connection between the two. So I think that need to have some kind of link so that when we want to reference the Jira ticket on the wiki, or to reference back to on the Jira reference back to the wiki, we can have just simply type the ticket number and it will automatically recognize. I realized that that setup is not there, and I could not figure it out how to do it. So today I'm going to check with other people to see if they can help me with that. So hopefully. So there's like still some tweaking back and forth for our wiki and Jira. Just want to FYI. Okay. Any other things you guys want to talk about?
Derek still speaking. I'll be rolling out. In the using the device management system from next week. So maybe just to bring to your notice.
Okay. Have you tested yet?
Yeah, I have tested. It took my time yesterday and today, and I feel maybe it will help us,
because you'll find that as we've gone out there and recovered some devices from the CHWs, you'll find that the Lockdown Pro that we're using was not very effective. And I feel the device management system would work better, especially unless one has to hard reset the devices.
Has what?
Especially what happens out there, or what I discovered was you'd find that maybe some CHWs tried maybe to go through the Lockdown Pro, because you can turn it on and off. So because the main security thing that security that was involved in was only a password. So in case maybe you are resetting a device or updating the device and the CHW was watching, and it's a 4-digit figure, you'd find that they can be a position to guess. So I think the device management system would apply much better than the Lockdown Pro that we were using previously. I'll be using it from next week.
Yes, can you, because there's still some a couple of tickets that need to be work on, so I would suggest you not to fully implement it. Maybe just pilot it with a committee units that closer to you. In case something happen, you can just travel there and help them to unlock it.
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to try on 2 community units. That is Kosurai and what?
Yeah, I would suggest not too many devices, or just to pilots first. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead, Martin.
Yes, Derek, I think that's a worthwhile effort to undertake. But I'd also just say, want you to be a little bit cautious before you do it, and I'd want the team, mostly Savai and one of the master students, also aware of what's going on. That way, it's a little bit more systematic versus something that ends up actually causing more problems than it's worth. Could I just ask, were all the tickets resolved, showstopper tickets resolved on the device management?
No, they're not all solved. No, still have, I think, 3 tickets for that we found last time.
Okay, and let me ask, Derek, and are these showstopper tickets, first of all?
Sorry?
No, Ed, are they showstopper tickets?
For the actual usage, there's some registration thing, and yeah, to me it's a showstopper for the first release, just for piloting. But I'm not sure like why isn't whether Derek is aware of that, because that's why I'm a little bit hesitated to actually roll out.
Yeah. So Derek, I'd say you've made us a little bit aware on making this a little clear on the priority list, but I'd say potentially hold off until some of the showstopper tickets are resolved. We'll just be wasting a whole bunch of cycles when the application itself is not ready. And then on our side, we can start on prioritizing.
Okay, then I think it's good to put it on hold.
That would be the suggestion. And just keep pushing us to finalize those showstopper tickets.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. And there's a master student who's going to be following up on the device management. And so I'd want them to also be involved, just at least to follow up the implementation aspects, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's actually Sheila.
Yes.
She was interested in that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And Rabbi speaking, do you have any updates from oncology?
No, there's no update on the oncology, Rabbi.
Yeah, Omenge just said we should meet, and I haven't heard back. I asked him more time, and he hasn't told me.
We need to offer Choma. So I think if not, I think that is it. And once the test environment for the 1.1x is ready, I think we'll be quite busy next week. So Thanks everyone for your contributions, and please update the tickets accordingly. Even though maybe things that hasn't been completed, but you have blockers, and please update so that we have some logging trail to know the reasons. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.